everyone, it's Lainey. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a video from The Painful Explainer, and this is every actor who died on set. Okay, so ever since I was a kid, I had like a weird fascination with things like this. I don't know what it is, but like true crime and anything like these freak accidents has always interested me. So make sure to go show Painful Explainer some love, and let's see this because I know it's gonna be so bad. I know it's gonna be so sad.
The fatal prop misfire. Brandon Lee was 28 years old when he arrived on set in Wilmington, North Carolina in 1993. As the son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, he had spent years emerging from his father's shadow. The Crow was meant to be his breakthrough, a dark superhero film where he played a musician who returns from the dead to avenge his murder. On March 31st, with just 8 days of filming left, Lee was shooting a scene where his character walks into his apartment and discovers his fiancée being attacked. The script called for Lee's character to be shot by a villain named Funboy. The gun was supposed to be loaded with blanks. What no one on set realized was that in an earlier film shoot, the crew had created improper dummy rounds by removing the powder from real bullets. A primer had been left in one cartridge, which pushed a bullet into the barrel where it became stuck. On the day of the fatal scene, the blank round was loaded behind this lodged bullet. When actor Michael Massey pulled the trigger from approximately 12 to 15 feet away, the blank's explosive force propelled the stuck bullet out of the barrel. It struck Lee in the abdomen with nearly the same force as a live round. Lee fell backward. The film crew initially thought he was acting, but soon realized something was wrong when he remained on the floor after the director yelled, "Cut." The set descended into chaos as crew members realized this was not a performance. Lee was rushed to New Hanover Regional Medical Center. Surgeons worked frantically for 6 hours, performing multiple blood transfusions and trying to repair extensive damage to his internal organs. At approximately 1 p.m., Brandon Lee was pronounced dead. He had lost too much blood. His vital organs had been too severely damaged. The gun that killed him had been handled by at least 4 different crew members. None realized they were creating the conditions for a fatal accident. The shooting was ruled an accident due to negligence. Lee's mother later filed a lawsuit against the filmmakers, which was settled out of court. The helicopter catastrophe. Vic Morrow was 53 when he arrived on the set of Twilight Zone the movie in July of 1982. A veteran actor known for tough guy roles, Morrow was filming a segment directed by John Landis at Indian Dunes in Valencia,
I have this thing where every time I hear of like accidents happening, I go and I watch the movies. I don't know why I do that because it just makes things even more sad, but like I like to go and watch them after I learn this information.
California. The scene depicted a Vietnam War village under attack, with Morrow's character rescuing 2 Vietnamese children. In the early morning hours of July 23rd, around 2:20 a.m., they began filming the evacuation sequence. A Bell UH-1 Huey helicopter hovered 24 to 25 feet above them, while special effects teams prepared pyrotechnic explosions below. There are reports that the director had requested the helicopter fly lower than initially planned, despite safety concerns raised by the pilot. Around 2:20 a.m., cameras rolled as pyrotechnic explosions were triggered beneath the helicopter. Instantly, a fireball erupted upward, engulfing the helicopter's tail rotor. Witnesses watched in horror as the aircraft wobbled, then spun out of control. The pilot struggled desperately to stabilize the 3-ton machine as it descended toward the actors. Morrow was carrying 2 children, 7-year-old Micah Dinlay and 6-year-old Renee Shin Yi Chen, through shallow water when he looked up. The helicopter's main rotor blade struck all 3 with tremendous force. The impact was catastrophic and instantaneous. Morrow and Lay were decapitated by the spinning blades, while Chen was crushed beneath the helicopter's right landing skid. The scene was captured on film from multiple angles. Morrow died on impact, his final moments recorded. The footage became evidence in the manslaughter trial against director John Landis and 4 other crew members. Despite evidence of safety violations, including the illegal hiring of the children in violation of California child labor laws, all defendants were ultimately acquitted after a 10-month trial in 1987. However, the families received substantial civil settlements. Morrow's daughters were awarded $850,000 each, while the children's families received $2 million each. Landis was also reprimanded by the Directors Guild of America and fined $5,000 by the California Labor Commission for violating child labor laws.
That's it?
A tragic jest. John Eric Hexum was 26 years old, a rising television star with model good looks and athletic build. On October 12, 1984, he was on the set of Cover Up, a CBS action series where he played a male model who worked as an undercover agent. The day had been filled with delays as crew members reset lighting for the bedroom scene at the 20th Century Fox lot in Los Angeles. Hexum was becoming increasingly restless as the delays dragged on. Known for his playful personality and practical jokes, Hexum picked up a .44 Magnum gun that was being used as a prop. The gun was loaded with blanks, cartridges containing gunpowder but no bullet, designed to create the flash and noise of a real shot for the camera. What Hexum didn't realize was that blanks are far from harmless. Though they contain no bullet, they use paper or plastic wadding to seal gunpowder in the cartridge. When fired, this wadding is expelled with explosive force, creating a dangerous pressure wave at close range. In a moment of boredom, imitating Russian roulette after unloading all but one blank round, Hexum placed the barrel against his right temple and quipped to crew members, "Let's see if I've got one for me." He pulled the trigger. The blank discharged with a deafening crack. The force drove a quarter-sized piece of his skull into his brain. Hexum immediately collapsed. Paramedics rushed him to Beverly Hills Medical Center, where surgeons worked desperately for 5 hours to remove bone fragments from his brain. Despite their efforts, the damage was irreversible. Hexum remained on life support for 6 days as his brain function progressively deteriorated. On October 18th, with no hope of recovery, John Eric Hexum was pronounced brain dead. His heart, kidneys, corneas, and skin tissue were donated to save the lives of at least 5 other people. A 36-year-old Las Vegas man received his heart. A critically ill 5-year-old boy and a 43-year-old grandmother received his kidneys. A 66-year-old man and a young girl received his corneas, and his skin was used to treat a 3.5-year-old boy with third-degree burns. The death was ruled accidental, and his mother later received an out-of-court settlement from 20th Century Fox Television and the production company. The Stingray's Barb. Steve Irwin was 44 years old on September 4th, 2006. Known worldwide as the Crocodile Hunter, the Australian wildlife expert had built a career...
when he passed away, I was so shocked that it was not by a crocodile. Like, everyone assumed that was the way this guy was going to go out. Nope.
Handling some of the planet's most dangerous creatures. That morning, he was filming a documentary called Ocean's Deadliest near Port Douglas on Australia's Great Barrier Reef. The weather had turned unfavorable for their planned shoot, so Irwin and his cameraman Justin Lyons decided to gather footage for a different project, a children's program called Bindi the Jungle Girl, named after Irwin's daughter. They spotted a large stingray in chest-deep water and entered the ocean to film it. Stingrays are typically docile creatures, only using their venomous barbed tails when threatened. Irwin approached the ray from behind, positioning himself above the 8-foot-wide animal. The water was slightly murky, limiting visibility as they filmed. What happened next occurred in mere seconds. Without warning, the stingray sensed Irwin above it and reacted defensively. Its tail whipped upward in a lightning-fast motion, striking him hundreds of times in the chest. One of the barbs, measuring approximately 8 inches long and serrated like a steak knife, pierced directly into Irwin's heart. Initially, Irwin believed he had only suffered a punctured lung. "I'm dying," he told his cameraman as they rushed him back to their boat. The serrated barb had created a wound approximately 2 inches wide, but the damage inside was deadly. The barb had penetrated his thoracic wall and pierced his heart, creating a hole that caused massive internal bleeding. The crew pulled Irwin into their inflatable boat and performed CPR continuously for over an hour as they raced towards Low Isles. His crew performed CPR desperately, but the damage to his heart was too severe. By the time they reached Low Isles, where emergency medical services were waiting, Steve Irwin was pronounced dead. The barb had pierced his heart, causing fatal trauma. The Fatal Tumble. Roy Kinnear was 54 years old, a beloved British character actor known for his portly figure and comedic roles. On September 19th, 1988, he was on location in Toledo, Spain, filming The Return of the Musketeers, a sequel to the 1973 adventure film, in which he had also appeared. The production had been plagued with time pressures and cost-cutting measures. Kinnear, playing the servant Planchet, was required to ride a horse for a scene at the Puente de Alcántara above the River Tagus. Though not an experienced rider, he had protested against riding the horse due to his lack of experience and serious safety concerns. He requested a stunt double, but since none was available for his part, he was forced to perform the scene himself. He received only one 15-minute practice ride for what would be a challenging sequence even for skilled equestrians. Filming began as cameras rolled on the narrow street. Kinnear sat atop the horse, visibly uncomfortable but determined to perform the scene as required. The animal moved forward at a trot, its hooves clattering loudly on the uneven cobblestones. The Spanish crew had misunderstood the director's instructions about putting sand on the cobblestone street for better grip. Suddenly, as the horse rounded a corner, it lost its footing on the slick surface. The animal stumbled, lurching forward into the side. Kinnear, unable to maintain his balance, was thrown from the saddle. He fell heavily onto the hard cobblestone, landing directly on his side. The crew rushed to his aid as he lay in pain, unable to stand. Initially, the injury appeared serious, but not life-threatening. Kinnear was conscious and speaking as he was transported to a hospital in Toledo, then transferred that afternoon to Ruber International Hospital in Madrid. Medical examination revealed a broken pelvis, an exceptionally painful injury that would require require surgery. However, he also suffered internal bleeding from the injury. The following day, September 20th, while hospitalized, Kinnear's condition deteriorated. He suffered a massive heart attack brought on by the injuries and internal bleeding. Roy Kinnear died at age 54 in Ruber International Hospital in Madrid. Following his death, Kinnear's family sued the film's production company and director Richard Lester for negligence and wrongful death, receiving a £650,000 settlement in 1991.
I don't know.
Director Richard
That doesn't
Lester
seem
quit
like
filmmaking
enough money
as a
for
direct
me.
result
I don't
of
think I
Kinnear's
could
death.
ever put a price tag
The final
on
duel.
loved
Tyrone
ones.
Power was 44 years old, a longtime Hollywood heartthrob known for swashbuckling roles in films like The Mark of Zorro and Captain from Castile. On November 15, 1958, he was in Madrid, Spain, filming the biblical epic Solomon and Sheba, playing King Solomon opposite Gina Lollobrigida. Power had been under significant stress during the production. The filming had been grueling, and he had taken to chain smoking, consuming 3 to 4 packs of cigarettes daily to calm his nerves. He was also concerned about his health, as a routine medical checkup 8 months earlier had given him a serious scare. Power had hereditary heart disease. His own father had died of a heart attack at age 38, collapsing in his 17-year-old son's arms during the making of the film. That day, the shooting schedule included a strenuous sword fighting sequence against George Sanders, who played his brother in the film. The scene required intense physical exertion, lunging, parrying, and executing complex footwork while wearing heavy period costumes. During the filming of the dueling scene with George Sanders, Power suddenly stopped. His face contorted in pain as he dropped his sword and told Sanders he wasn't feeling well. The film's director, King Vidor, immediately called for medical assistance. It quickly became clear that Power was suffering a massive heart attack. The set personnel administered what emergency treatment was available while an ambulance was summoned. Power was transported to a hospital in Madrid, but he died while being transported, or, according to some accounts, was already dead before reaching the hospital. The doctor, Juan Olagibel, diagnosed Power's death as fulminant angina pectoris. Tyrone Power was pronounced dead on November 15th, 1958, at age 44. He had filmed approximately 75% of his scenes as Solomon. His role was recast with Yul Brynner, who reshot all of Power's scenes, though Power remains visible in some long shots of the completed film. Power's wife, Deborah, was pregnant at the time, and their son, Tyrone Power Jr., was born 2 months after his father's death. The tragic irony. Red Fox was 68 years old on October 11th, 1991. Born John Elroy Sanford, he had become famous for his role as Fred Sanford in the 1970s sitcom Sanford and Son, where his character frequently faked heart attacks by clutching his chest and calling out to his deceased wife, "Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey." After years away from television, Fox was making his comeback on The Royal Family, a new CBS sitcom. The show had premiered on September 18th, 1991, just over 3 weeks earlier, to strong ratings. That afternoon, Fox arrived at Paramount Studios in Hollywood for rehearsals, though tensions were mounting on set due to production pressures. Shortly after 4 p.m., the cast was on set, running through scenes. That day, Entertainment Tonight was on set to interview Fox. During a scene where Fox had no lines and was only supposed to walk across the back of a chair, a producer pulled him away from the interview to participate in the rehearsal. According to his co-star Della Reese, Fox became livid when he realized his stand-in could have easily handled the minimal action required. During this heated exchange with the producer, he suddenly fell to the floor. Several cast and crew members initially thought this was Fox improvising comedy or performing one of his famous pratfalls. Reese called out, but there was no response. Fox remained on the floor. When Reese leaned down to him, she heard him say, "Get my wife," twice. The reality quickly set in. This was not a performance. The show's producer rushed over and found Fox in medical distress. Paramedics arrived and found Fox in cardiac arrest. They administered CPR as they transported him to Queen of Angels Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center. At the hospital, Fox remained alive for approximately 4 hours while doctors worked frantically to save him. At 7:45 p.m., approximately 4 hours after collapsing, Red Fox was pronounced dead from a massive heart attack. In a cruel twist of fate, the comedian who had made millions laugh by pretending to have heart attacks had died of the very condition he had so famously mimicked. His last moments were spent being disbelieved because he had performed the scene so many times before. His final words, "Get my wife," spoken twice to Della Reese as she knelt beside him, marked the tragic end of a comedic legend whose financial troubles had left him deeply in debt, requiring his friend Eddie Murphy to pay for his funeral. The Unrecoverable Spin. Art Skull was 53 years old on September 16th, 1985. An accomplished aerobatic pilot, he had performed dangerous stunts for more than 30 years. His impressive resume included aerial work for popular films such as The Right Stuff and Blue Thunder. That day, he was flying near Carlsbad, California, capturing background footage for the upcoming film Top Gun. Scholl was piloting his custom-built Pitts S-2A biplane, a nimble aircraft renowned for its aerobatic capabilities. The plane had been specially modified with camera equipment to capture spectacular spectacular aerial sequences. The sky was clear, with visibility extending for miles over the Pacific Ocean. Weather conditions were ideal. At approximately 5:45 p.m., Scholl was being followed by his mechanic Kevin Kammer and stunt pilot Chuck Wentworth in another plane, watching for air traffic as he prepared to perform a flat inverted spin for the cameras. This complex maneuver involves the aircraft rotating horizontally while descending vertically in an upside-down position. An extremely challenging maneuver even for a pilot of Scholl's caliber. The biplane climbed to 4,000 feet before Scholl deliberately entered the inverted spin. From the tracking aircraft, Kammer and Wentworth watched as the Pitts began its inverted spiral down. At 3,000 feet, they heard Scholl's voice over the radio. "I have a problem. Something was wrong." The aircraft continued its relentless rotation toward the ocean surface. At 1,500 feet, Scholl transmitted again. "I have a real problem." His voice was calm but urgent. The biplane continued its uncontrolled descent, spinning faster as it approached the water. At tremendous speed, the aircraft plunged into the Pacific Ocean approximately 5 miles offshore. Kammer and Wentworth, following behind, passed through clouds and arrived at the scene approximately 45 seconds later, but the plane had already vanished. They saw no impact and no signs of Scholl's biplane. Neither Scholl nor his aircraft surfaced. Coast Guard vessels arrived and found only small pieces of debris floating on the water's surface. The search continued through the night and into the next morning, but at 9:30 a.m. Tuesday, approximately 16 hours after the crash, the search was called off. The plane is believed to have sunk to the ocean floor 900 feet below the surface. Despite the search operation, Art Scholl's body was never recovered from the ocean depths. The National Transportation Safety Board investigated and determined the probable cause was loss of control in flight during aerobatic maneuvering, with contributing factors including intentional stall and spin and failure to correct the descent. Investigators suggested Scholl may have experienced spatial disorientation. However, the exact cause of the unrecoverable spin remains officially unknown. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.
Okay, I know. I'm gonna go Google that like right now, because that is literally like one of the local beaches to me, and I go in that water, and to think that there's an airplane with a body still inside underneath. Oh my gosh. Make sure to go show Painful Explainer some love, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.